Have you ever just stopped and really thought about it? Why does anything exist at all? I mean, it's the biggest question there is, right? It's the one every kid asks and every great thinker has wrestled with. Well, today, we're diving deep into that ultimate mystery.
It looks like such a simple question, but it holds literally everything. The very fact that you're here, that stars are blazing across the universe, that anything is happening, none of that had to be. So what gives? Why did something win the cosmic lottery instead of, well, nothing?
I mean, just try to wrap your head around the sheer scale of it all. All of these countless galaxies swirling out there in this endless cosmic ballet.
And then you have the building blocks of that whole dance, the tiny atoms that make up the stars, the planets, and, of course, us.
And then you get to the really strange part, that a pile of these atoms can somehow become self-aware, that it can look out at everything else and actually ask the question, why?
And all of this is unfolding inside this river we call time. So today, we're going to explore this fundamental question. And maybe, just maybe, in doing so, we'll find a key to understanding pretty much everything else.
Okay, so before we can even begin to understand something, we've got to get a handle on its opposite. But that's where the trouble starts right away. What exactly is nothing?
Go on, give it a shot for a second. Try to picture, well, you can't. You can't picture a lack of space. You can't imagine a world without time. Even if you picture pure blackness, that blackness has to be somewhere. It's like our brains just short circuit. The human mind literally cannot grasp a true absolute void.
And this is where things get really, really interesting. You see, physics and philosophy have completely different ideas of nothing. Philosophy is talking about that absolute void we can't even think about. But modern physics, it tells us that even the emptiest space we can find isn't empty at all. It's a quantum vacuum, just buzzing and foaming with potential energy. It's basically something wearing a really convincing nothing costume.
So here's the big idea, the thing that could flip this entire question on its head. We've always assumed that nothing is the default state, and something is this weird exception that needs a big explanation. But what if we've had it backwards the whole time? What if existence is the default, and true nothingness is the real impossibility?
Okay, so let's run with that for a minute. Existence is the default. But that still leaves us with a huge puzzle. Why this particular existence? Science has some fascinating theories, but you'll see, they just lead to even deeper questions.
One of the most popular ideas in science is that our universe it just bubbled up from a quantum vacuum that was already there. You can think of it like a random ripple in a field of energy that ballooned into, everything we see.
But you see the catch, don't you? A quantum vacuum isn't nothing. It's a something with its own set of rules and its own energy. So this theory doesn't actually answer the ultimate question, it just kicks the can down the road. Now we just have to ask, okay, so where did the vacuum and its laws come from?
And this is where the mystery gets even deeper. The laws of our universe seem perfectly, almost suspiciously tuned for existence. If you tweak the speed of light, the charge of an electron, or the force of gravity, even by a tiny fraction, you get a universe with no stars, no galaxies, and no us. It starts to look less like a random accident and a lot more like a setup.
So one way scientists try to solve this fine-tuning problem is with the multiverse. The idea here is that there are infinite universes being created all the time, each with its own different laws of physics. So it's not special that our universe got the conditions right for life. It was basically inevitable that one of them would. And of course, that's the one we'd find ourselves in.
But here we go again. We smack right into the same wall. The multiverse doesn't solve the ultimate problem, it just makes it way bigger. So there's some kind of cosmic universe-making factory out there? Great, but what created the factory? This is the point where science kind of hits a roadblock, and philosophy steps in with an answer that's thousands of years old, but honestly is still incredibly powerful.
An ancient Greek philosopher named Parmenides just put it out there, plain and simple. Non-being cannot exist. His whole argument was that nothingness is a logical contradiction. You can't have not being, so being has to be necessary. Something has to exist, not by choice, but because it's the only logical option.
The logic here is kind of like a chain of dominoes. Everything we see has a cause, right? You were caused by your parents, a tree was caused by a seed, and on and on. But you can't have an infinite chain of causes stretching back forever. That just doesn't work, logically. The chain has to start somewhere. There must be one thing, the first domino, that wasn't caused by anything else.
something that exists just because it has to.
And what's really fascinating is how many different cultures and thinkers have stumbled upon this exact same idea. They just use different words. Aristotle called it the unmoved mover, the thing that sets everything else going. Indian philosophy calls it Brahman, not a person, but the pure underlying fabric of reality itself. Some modern physicists might even call it a fundamental mathematical substrate. The names change, but the idea is the same. There is a ground of all being that doesn't need a creator because it is creation.
So we have this idea of a necessary fundamental reality. But now, let's explore a really radical possibility. What if that fundamental reality is consciousness? Now this flips our usual way of thinking completely upside down. We tend to think that matter came first, and then after billions of years of complex evolution, consciousness somehow emerged out of it. But what if it's the other way around? What if consciousness is the base reality, and the physical universe, matter, energy, space, and time, all emerges from it? In this kind of view, the universe exists because a fundamental consciousness wants to experience itself in every way imaginable. So every star that lights up, every planet that forms, every baby that opens its eyes, that's the universe becoming aware of itself. All of existence becomes a kind of cosmic exploration. So after this whole journey through physics and philosophy, we're kind of left with three really profound possibilities. Number one, the philosophical answer, that existence just is, because nothingness is a logical impossibility. Number two, the scientific and metaphysical answer, that our universe is just one small expression of a much deeper, infinite reality. Or number three, the consciousness first answer, that the entire universe is just a story that consciousness is telling itself, a way for it to experience all its different forms. And this brings us to one last kind of beautiful thought. Maybe the question, why is there something instead of nothing, is actually pointing to its own answer. Maybe the universe exists so that questions like this can be asked. Without existence, there would be no one to wonder why. And perhaps that very act of wondering is the entire point.